Welcome to Space Academy episode 4. I am so glad to be here with you again. Last time we talked about the Matrix and how our society is built on constructs to keep our perception agreements and beliefs in the specific core role for the benefit of those who control it from behind. Today, we will explain how the Matrix, as system of control, extends into other areas, so-called alternative ones, and why we all should be careful, especially at the beginning of the journey. Why especially at the beginning? Well, I find the beginning phase, which some of you might be in, to be the most vulnerable one. It's when you start to come out of the socially accepted ideas and start to listen to less mainstream information. You are open, excited even, but still one foot in the conditioned mindset, that is, to rely on some sort of established authority. That's how most people simply function, and that's why they can easily fall into more matrix-controlled mechanisms. And it's not always wrong, of course, to listen to experts, but since you haven't yet grown enough knowledge, haven't yet learned to discern, in a way it's a lifelong process to be able to discern, those who are behind designing the system on Earth have set up some traps. New Age and alternative groups to do with space, ufology, non-religious spirituality, etc. are where some of those traps have been placed, and intentionally. And it is of tremendous importance for you to be aware of it. And also there is another reason why I decided to bring up this subject so early in our curriculum, and I will explain it at the end. First, I want to point out that in the process of the so-called awakening, or better said, gaining more understanding of how reality works, there are different levels through which people might pass. They are generally defined, of course. The first level, hopefully, is already behind you. It's a total matrix level, where people live according to what society imposes on them as truths. They believe in official news and politics. They never question anything, or perhaps only to a very shallow degree. Their truths and their values are the ones of society, and they follow them to the dot. In the level 2, people start to realize that many things are not right, but this feeling is not strong enough to make them want to search for more. In the level 3, and the one that concerns us for this video, they begin to feel the need to seek answers outside socially accepted beliefs. And it's probably where most of you, my listeners, are. And your open mind is something to be proud of. The problem with this level is that most people here still believe in authority figures, experts, so they tend to follow those who are socially accepted within their chosen alternative field. We can call those figures mainstream alternative media. It's another mainstream just within the so-called alternative current, thus giving people the feeling they are going against the system, finally finding the truth. People at this level are unaware yet that most largely established authorities, even within the alternative worlds, are also controlled. We will circle back to this point because it's where our main focus is for this video. Finally, at level 4, a more profound level of awareness, people begin to realize that all the main alternative narratives are also
or can be, limited and controlled just as the main society matrix is. It can be said they go through the second awakening phase, where they realize that the only way to reach some degree of truth and meaning is to research everything on their own, listen to everyone, but follow no one blindly. In the end, they must learn to connect all the dots on their own.
But let's go back down to level 3. It's where we have people open to look for more information, but they don't realize yet that there are traps within alternative spiritual and extraterrestrial movements and within New Age. They are not aware that those that rule the society have their control tentacles everywhere, and especially in the circles to which their curious and opening minds flock to. Think about it for a moment. It's logical, and it would even be delusional to think otherwise. If you have a power structure set up to guide the beliefs of the population, well, how even more important it is to hijack and control the areas where members of that population go asking questions. If you want to control people, you must control them in all fields, and especially the ones to do with subjects regarding nature of life on Earth, life in space, prohibited technologies, and everything that relates to expanding minds and transforming the society into something different from what they want it to be. We already talked about false realities in the official system on Earth in class 2. Well, the alternative areas, unfortunately, are not the exception. All the narratives, all the information on Earth must and has to be controlled by agencies of all subjects. The information people receive has to be controlled. Nothing must be left ajar and in the wind. They control everything that goes into the public en masse, all social, spiritual, political, religious, economic trends and movements. Of course, the whole mystery world is controlled, because things can come out of it that can change people's perception against the interests of the controllers.
People have been starting to see things behind the official narratives for decades now, and more each day, looking at information coming in from outside the established matrix, remembering what they shouldn't, the unruly ones who don't agree with how things are on Earth, messing everything up for the controllers, so they obviously must be contained, and that other information they are looking at must be explained away in different, misleading ways. Okay, so what do those in power do? They infiltrate, and they have been strongly at it, inculcating attitudes, ideas, trends, perceptions, stellar concepts since 1940s at least. This is where the New Age trends come in. The New Age movement, according to the official definitions, spread through the metaphysical religious communities in the 1970s and 80s, and it looked forward to a new age of love and light, offering a foretaste of the coming era through personal transformation and healing. It is a range of eclectic beliefs and practices encompassing a great variety of areas, all based on personal spiritual transformation. However, what we in Space Academy believe is that the New Age was created, or at least heavily infiltrated, by government agencies, mainly CIA, to hijack and control human awakening, perception and trends. You may think CIA is some spy agency looking for terrorists or concerned with national security, but in reality, it is an institution dedicated to population control, whose reach goes way beyond what they officially project. All those intelligence agencies in general dedicate nearly 90% of their time, resources, and efforts to manipulate the people's perceptions in favor of what the establishment wants. Since the people at the stage 3 are still bound to follow authorities, what those agencies do is throw into the field a bunch of experts and respectable researchers with credentials and supposed knowledge, who then guide the people's perception, making them feel they broke out of the matrix, without them realizing they are being lured into another one. People must base their concepts and belief systems on something as a foundation that is heavily controlled by design. We can definitely say that most official researchers in ufology, for example, are connected to those who developed and control all the information which can be classified as New Age. What is worse, those mainstream alternative researchers end up backing each other up, and in the process reinforce each other's information and image in the eye of the public, creating currents within the alternative world, self-validating among themselves. All those people and their friends, some knowingly cooperating with the CIA, others just being used, are the mechanisms of the Matrix to divert the attention of the awakened population, all for the sake of monopolizing the truth. And people fall for it, because it comes from respectable individuals. Therefore, it is credible. They fall for the same thing as those they criticize who believe in CNN and the BBC, just because they are authorities. People at the lower level of understanding, level 1, cannot even consider the possibility of there being groups of power controlling them from behind. They follow the system to the letter. It can be even understood why, since the control mechanism is structured like an onion and very strong. The whole mentality and reasoning of modern-day humankind is programmed not to be able to even consider the possibility that there can be a group who has the power to manipulate the perception of an entire planet, and to such a strong degree. And the exact same thing happens at level 3, just at another layer of the onion. People feeling they are free, unaware that the matrix extends there too. They are unaware that all those large and well-organized spiritual communities are under the payroll of intelligence agencies who use them to control the perception and the narrative of what is apparently against the system, leaving all those well-organized spiritual and UFO communities as only more tricky tools of the same system. They are simply controlled opposition. They are basically implants to contain the awakening minds. And those who are not implants, many small genuine researchers who exist, will follow and repeat after the big ones.
Controlled opposition, by the way, is a term to refer to the groups who are seemingly against what you are also against. That's why called opposition, but they are controlled.
meaning it's actually the same groups you are against that control that opposition. Very good strategy too, I would say. One of the people that I know who used this strategy and whose quote is very famous is Lenin, who actually said, the best way to control the revolution is to lead it yourself. Okay, so now we have a very short community workshop with Donna and Felipe. Donna from Hawaii and Felipe from Portugal. And let's see what they say on the topic of New Age in their experience.
Since the 1970s, there have been many books published with New Age ideas. And now, 40 years later, it seems that the internet has just exploded with New Age groups. Have you noticed that most New Age groups have a common theme that embrace love and light? There are digital artworks of radiant beings with messages that they will save and liberate humanity from the evils on Earth. There seems to be a uniform, consistent narrative. When messages of love and light get repeated enough, people start to accept it as the truth. When I was an art student, I remember seeing classical paintings showing people ascending to higher realms. Throughout the ages, there are illuminated manuscripts and paintings that show groups of people being liberated by saviors. Is the New Age really something unique to us, or does it come and go throughout the ages with a slightly different narrative? Has the original New Age movement been hijacked into our culture to distract, confuse, and keep us in spiritual matrix of false hope? In the past, artists were commissioned by the high priests to create very large paintings, many showing winged saviors. Today, the social media groups and video channels use AI-generated images to illustrate scenes. The end of the world theme is nothing new, and the question is, who or what is behind much of the New Age on the internet? Has the New Age movement been infiltrated to coincide with a new social reset? To keep us in a matrix of false reality? To overload social media so that the real soul-searching conversations kind of get lost in a digital jungle?
Thank you, Donna, very much. Thank you for your contribution. She actually mentions some of the ideas here of the New Age that we have a bit of a different opinion on or view on, but we'll get to this in later episodes. But here now we also have Felipe from Portugal.
The process of awakening is like an onion, not just because sometimes it makes you cry, but most importantly because it has many layers. When I began my process of awakening, I started looking for sources, knowledge, and communities on those subjects, and I found many of them, and many of them found me as well. And while it was nice to know that other people were also on this path, I started to feel that there was something off with them. Here's why. Because most of those ideas seemed like just another version of the same old way of thinking, except maybe with more positive vibes and a few plot twists. What I mean is that they still carry the same characteristics of the systems that we're trying to break free from, only disguised as something more awakened. Characteristics like being absolutely dogmatic, or being just another escape from people's shadows and unconscious fears, a form of bypassing them where it's all just love and light and rainbows and unicorns, only positive vibes, when everyone who's walked this path knows that true love and light only come from facing and integrating your shadows. And worst of all, believing that your growth, salvation, or ascension is being done by an external force, and there's nothing that you need to do, making you dependent and disempowered, not to say complacent. And that's when I realized that humans will often have what I call beginnings of awakening, but then carry the same old concepts and ways of thinking to that new level, creating another similar matrix there in that new level, even if a bit more expanded. That's not even the real problem. The real problem is when they do that and then they believe that they are now fully awakened, that now they hold the whole truth. And that's when they get stuck in the matrix again. Because remember, the power of the matrix to imprison you is that you don't question it, or that you don't even question whether you should question it. And that's how I realized that most supposedly awakened people are still stuck in the same matrix, only adapted to them another layer of the same thing. These fake layers of awakening can become the biggest traps in your process of awakening. So how do you avoid getting stuck in them? Well, do like I did. Trust your inner guidance more than anything else. If you feel like something is off, forced or fake, and like it's disempowering you, then don't blindly believe it just to call yourself awakened and to have a community. Dare to question even when you hit new levels of awakening, because remember, it's an onion, and your new level is not yet the full awakening. Maybe it will never be, and maybe it has always been, and maybe understanding that is part of the process. The good news is we are here to help you and support you on this path, remembering always that in the end, you must be your own leader and master.
That's right. Well, thank you very much, Felipe, as well. That was actually a very good point about people who are in this level, we call them level 3. They get into this mindset like, oh wow, we are already awakened. This is it. We already reached the stage where we know everything, the absolute truth. We got out of the matrix and this is it. And these people are actually very hard to break from their ideas, even more so in some cases than the real matrix people, because some matrix people, they just don't know and they will just say, I don't know. But these people at level 3, they think they know, and it's very hard to get them out of there and offer new angles and new perspectives. So it's like they are stuck in a new level of the matrix. So that was a good point.
Okay, so why is all this important for me to talk about, apart from wanting to warn you about the dangers of falling into more matrix trends, this time within New Age and alternative circles? And what are those misleading trends? There are many, and as we proceed, you will be learning about them all. I know I say this a lot, but it's just impossible to throw everything into a single video. So why else is it important that I mention all this? I said in the beginning that there was another reason. I am mentioning this because as we move along, you will see many concepts discussed here that you may inadvertently confuse for the New Age. I must be very clear here. We are not New Age. Space Academy is not yet another New Age trend, even though many facts and many beliefs that I will present will coincide with those of the New Age. And why is that? Because not everything within the New Age is wrong. There are many elements there that are in line with what I will share. But beside these elements in common, there are many others we are completely in opposition of, which makes us extremely non-mainstream alternative. and very non-New Age. I could even say that the New Age serves, among other things, to discredit information like ours by implanting false ideas. So when the time comes, like now, for you, to research these subjects, they will be right away labeled as New Age and woo-woo. That's why I made this video so early in the program, so you can keep this in mind. You will ask, of course, how can you know then if our information is not controlled? Unfortunately, at this point, you can't know that for sure. It may seem we are just another channel with information, and that is so. Among countless informants out there, that's who we will seem to be, for now at least. In the end, there isn't just one hard ultimate truth about almost anything anyway. And as I always say, you must connect the final dots yourself. Research all you can from different sources, including us, and make up your own mind. And above all, do not be afraid to make mistakes. I know it is frustrating that there are so many levels of control, and it may make you feel lost trying to navigate through all this soup of information out there. I know it can be painful to try to discern. It was for me, and still is. But stay on the path and be open. Keep learning. Don't get discouraged, and don't dismiss your curiosity just because it is a maze out there. It is, and it is placed there on purpose, precisely to confuse you. Just trust that in the end, you will be guided to what really serves you at any given moment. There are no mistakes, I don't think, just lessons and experiences. So listen to all, gather knowledge in the area that interests you, and dismiss what doesn't. Enjoy it, even if it may turn out not so valid after a while. And in the end, look carefully at what all this implies. The enormous need to spend all kinds of resources with enormous effort to control human perception, individual and collective. This indicates that those who have the real control over reality are humans and not them. And this further means that those in power, whoever is behind the affairs on earth, is actually afraid of us and of us realizing that we are more and that there is more. For that reason, I don't even like to call them those in power, as the ones with real power are us. We just kind of forgot. On that note, in the next class, and after we briefly looked at the falsities, we will finally begin to learn about what is real, about those who truly are in power. And we will start with you. Yes, you. You as a human, your body and mind, your consciousness. Are you just your body? Are you your mind? What are you really? What are your thoughts on this topic, I wonder? So let's get into this subject next. Thank you all, and I will see you again very soon.
In the process of the awakening, people go through different phases. At one of them, when they begin to seek answers outside official matrix, they fall into alternative circles and/or New Age. Like everything else, those alternative circles and/or New Age are very controlled and seeded with false experts and gurus to hijack the attention of newly open minds. New Age has been created or infiltrated by government agencies to control the search of incoming free thinkers who are dissatisfied with the official religions and mainstream. Those official alternative researchers and leaders are another layer of the matrix, implanted by the CIA as mainstream alternative. They can be called controlled opposition. It is designed this way on purpose, since the controllers know people at this stage still tend to follow what's socially accepted, even within the so-called alternative roles. Space Academy is not New Age. We differ a lot on a large number of concepts. The amount of control they exert over human population, both in the official matrix and in the New Age, indicates it is very important for them to keep us confused. This means the ones with the real power are us.